Hey guys, Thrasher here. The Las Vegas Showdown ended a couple days ago and the anniversary is coming in a couple more days. But with that being said, I've had a little time to reflect and I want to give you my top 5 final thoughts on the Las Vegas Showdown. What needs to change in the future, what was nice, and where does it go from here? Let's talk about it right now. Okay, so in the background of this entire video, I'm going to make sure that the bracket is up just so if anyone didn't see it or wants a refresher of what happened, here's the actual breakdown of who won, who lost, where they ended up moving around in the tournament bracket. The final winner was Milcool, and that leads us to number 5, and the most obvious thing here, Milcool is an absolute beast. Throughout the entire tournament, he only dropped one single game. Not one match, just one game, and that was in the grand final against Monstercat. Now with that being said, that leads me to the other side of point 5. The Japanese players as a whole were head and shoulders above all of the other players, and it seems like Japanese players at the moment are just in general playing at a higher level than lots of the other players we're seeing. But is that actually true? Let's move into point 4 and talk about that. So point 4 is that the prize for this needs to go beyond just bragging rights, beyond just a cool belt. It needs to be money. I know of multiple players that said they didn't really try to actually make it into this tournament because there was no money to be won. Most esports, in fact all esports that are taken seriously that I can think of, incentivize their tournaments with heavy monetary rewards. Now I'm not saying that the winner of this has to get $100,000 or even $50,000, but you got to give them $5,000, maybe $10,000 so that way people actually want to enter this tournament. I do think that there were 1 or 2 players that would have really tried to make it into this tournament if they could have won $10,000 and they could have given some of the Japanese players at the very least some competitive matches, because I really think the only truly competitive matches between Masakatsu, Chicken, and Milcool were when the 3 of them were actually fighting each other. Also, it incentivizes people to train a little bit harder. So a lot of these other guys here said they play casually. They'd probably play a little more seriously and practice more often if they knew that they could go to this tournament and actually win $10,000, $5,000. So that's another thing that they need to be doing in the future. Whenever their next tournament is, it needs to be monetarily incentivized. So let's move on to number 3. I actually really enjoyed the production value of this tournament. I thought it was considerably higher than I thought it was going to be, but there was definitely a lot of room for improvement. One, they need to make sure that if there's any type of error with the game where the match gets shut down, they need to have a way to not completely reset the match and just make them replay it. They need to be able to go back to whatever state it was in. So they need to add that functionality to the game, at least for show tournaments like this. More importantly, they also need to make sure that when they're showing matches, they're not showing them simultaneously on different streams. It needs to all be on one stream, because the fact that I had to watch half of the matches on the English stream and then half the matches on the Japanese stream, that is an absolute pain for the viewer. You should not do that. I want to see every single match. You can run them simultaneously, but it needs to be on the same stream, or run the matches one at a time. And then moving out of that into point number 2, this is still production related. I did enjoy the commentators that they brought. I enjoyed some of their banter back and forth in between matches, but they really need to have some commentators that understand the mechanics of the game and how combat truly works, because nothing against Kagi whatsoever. He was entertaining, he did a good job for what he was there for, but they need someone who truly understands the nuances of all the techniques and the teams that are being brought in and used by the players, so that way the viewers who may not be quite as savvy can understand exactly what's going on. And then number 1, and most importantly, I think the reveal was done extremely well. You have the champion versus one of the producers of the game. They fight each other, they show off the new characters. It was super hype, everyone enjoyed it. I think they should do that at every single tournament. There should be a big reveal at the end of the tournament, similar to the way Dota 2 does it with the International every single year. The International is Dota 2's biggest tournament. The winners of the tournament gets sometimes tens of millions of dollars, and at the end, or very near the end, sometimes on the last day or second to last day, you show off a new character because you know everyone's going to be watching it. It's on the biggest stage possible. It really builds hype, and it makes the tournament worth it, even if you have to spend a fair amount of money to pay the winner and the runner-up of the tournament. You're gonna have lots of people who see this new character, they get hyped up for it, and then they're gonna want to spend money on it. So overall, I think things were done well. There's definitely some room for improvement, but I really like where things are going. They just need to make sure that they incentivize the tournament with money so that we can get lots of these players who I think will fill the gaps in skill between Milcool and everyone else. I do think there are better players out there that just didn't make it to the tournament, and I'd really like to see them there, because overall the matches were a ton of fun to watch. except for when you really had the stompiness going on, which wasn't too often. So that's pretty much all I have for this video. One thing I want to know from you guys is, do you think if they incentivize these tournaments with money, are there players who are going to show up that were possibly better than the 16 we saw and are going to make these tournaments even more competitive? Do you think there's someone who's actually better than Milcool out there right now who just didn't try for the tournament? Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.